Hello again, it's Joe V from 4x5 Photography. In this short video I want to talk about the most basic kit you need to get to get started in large format photography. So a lot of videos out there talk about all the equipment you got to have, and the truth is there is a minimal kit that allows you to start enjoying this wonderful hobby at the most inexpensive cost possible, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get right to it. So here's our most basic 4x5 kit, and this kit, of course, most importantly, you've got your camera, 4x5 capable camera. This is a Graflex crown. There's a couple different models that they make, the crown, the pace setter. There are literally thousands of these for sale at any one time, hundreds of them on eBay certainly. It generally is the most inexpensive camera you will find for doing 4x5 photography. And it's got all of the elements that it needs, but not all the elements that they come with. It doesn't have a rangefinder, which is unnecessary, and some other components. I don't have the shutter hooked up to this lens or anything, so all of those pieces you don't have to have. You don't have to have a perfectly complete camera. It just needs to have a light tight body, bellows, back, and a lens. And this is typical of the type of lens you're going to find in a camera like this. It's a 127mm normal lens. It can be used for years of 4x5 work. However long you want to shoot, whatever you want to shoot, this lens will work fine. You don't have to have a huge collection of lenses to get started. So by far the most expensive part of this kit, but in general, in comparison to some other 4x5 cameras, generally least expensive. So that's most important. Secondly, we've got to have some film holders. 2 film holders. Really only need one, but a couple film holders. They are cheap and available at any time on the used market, so you have to have those. We also have to have some kind of black cloth to hide the light. Obviously my cloth is white here. I use backing for curtains. You can buy this material at any fabric store. It is light tight and it works just as good as the black cloth, much cheaper. Most importantly, you need to have for focusing a simple and inexpensive magnifying loupe. This happens to be a 5x loupe. That's more than enough for me, and I'm an old guy that wears glasses, but 5x, 10x, you're going to use that to magnify the image on the ground glass, so you can really make sure you're getting the sharp focus that these cameras are capable of. And then lastly, as really a mandatory element, obviously this camera doesn't have any metering capabilities on it, so you're going to have some kind of exposure meter. And you probably already have that in your pocket. It's really any smartphone. There are a number of apps you can download to use as exposure meters, and I guarantee you, regardless of what any 4x5 purists may say, you don't need a spot meter. You don't have to have a special meter to get started. What you can use on here will give you a number of options for exposures and setting them and getting the images you want. So you got to have some form of exposure meter. That one is basically free if you've got a smartphone in your pocket, and obviously most of us do. In addition to this, now, like I said, old pressmen used to use this camera handheld, and depending on the kind of work that you do, you may want to use it as a handheld camera. It's got its strap here, film goes in, you're using the eyepiece here. You're generally setting your lens up so that it's got a very wide depth of field, so focus isn't an issue because you're not going to be using the ground glass when you use it handheld. But for the most part, for large format, you're also going to want some kind of tripod. The heavier duty, the better. Again, depending on the kind of work you want to do. So most of my 4x5 work is outdoors. And so I like a heavy tripod that's capable of holding it in a windy situation, or some capabilities, because sometimes I'm not necessarily on a flat plane, or I'm in or near water. So a tripod is really a necessary requirement to do anything serious with your 4x5 camera. And then not necessary but helpful, is a shutter cable release. That's going to help you, and all these old lenses are set up for them, so you're not moving your camera when you're trying to depress the shutter. Again, with the goal being to get as sharp an image as possible. And then the cheapest level you can find, so when you put your camera on your tripod, you're getting everything set up just right. So again, these are luxuries in the starter kit, not necessities, but you're talking about a few dollars here. And so this is really all that's required with a pack of film to begin 4x5 photography. And everything you've seen here is obviously not new equipment. It's all been bought on the used market, and in watching the market, you'll find that deals do happen, and a lot of these cameras and associated equipment are available on eBay or in the used market. So when you're ready to start, it's easy to start, a little bit of cost, and you're outside, inside, wherever you want to be, shooting 4x5 images and taking advantage of whether that's black and white photography or whether it's color photography, color negatives, color positives. All of that film is still available for this camera, and like I say, for a relatively inexpensive kit, you're ready to go, and that's all it takes.